What's going on, guys? Might make a quick video just because I've seen some dangerous stuff. I think I found some information that somebody that doesn't really understand what's going on, they went and made a video on it, and now I've just been getting some questions, so I wanted to address this a little bit differently. I'm going to play a few portions of the video, and I'll kind of commentate on my own personal thoughts, and we'll go from there.
Well insulated from this, and no one in this play will be margin called. Excuse me, there should be an E right here.
Okay, so funds are well insulated from phase 6. No one will be margin called. That's interesting because, again, and you guys have seen this if you've listened to any of my streams. I mean, you have the senior principal of BNY Mellon saying, "Hey, look, there's gonna be margin calls. People are they're gonna have to process margin calls off of this." All right, and then let's address the funds are well insulated from this because it's weird. I mean, I know he talked to, assuming that he's not lying. And the other portion of this video he talks that he calls is that he talked to their press release person and they said, "Oh, this is a nothing burger." Well, that's interesting because when any of the videos that I've seen, and I'm talking actual roundtables of the boards, like, you know, the board of directors, executives, things like that, actually talking about is that the one thing that, or phase 6, they're most scared that people are not taking this seriously or not prepared. And phase 5 themselves had tons of people that failed. The problem was, and the reason why I think that he feels so confident that he could say that there was no margin calls is because there was a COVID exemption, right? So it's literally people that were caught up in phase 5. Nothing really happened because that ended, right? But September 1st, that exemption ends as well. If you actually come and look at the calendar of events, this is updated the first every month. Okay, we're looking at September 1st, 2022, the very bottom here. It says expiration date of no action relief issued by the Division of Trading and Markets at the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, in respect to Exchange Act Rule 19A3. The relief provides the staff will not recommend enforcement action of a non-bank security-based swap dealer if they do not collect initial margin from a phase 6 counterparty. Okay, before September 1st, provided a record of such phase 6 plus counterparties is preserved for at least 3 years. So the key elements, no action relief, meaning that if you weren't meeting these requirements, you weren't meeting your margin requirements, at this point, it wasn't a deal breaker because they were getting exemption from COVID. So I don't understand how we can make that particular argument. All right. And then when we talk about, oh, funds are well insulated from this, well, look what happened with Archegos. Where is Bill Hwang right now, and how did that work out for him, right? They were not required by U.S. regulators to post margin when it first started to trade. The second that they were in scope, that's when they got caught. So I don't know when he says that funds are so allocated, or these are little shit funds. I mean, Archegos was a pretty big fund. They had a ton of money in derivatives. I just think it's a little bit dangerous for him to be making those particular claims, right? Again, let's highlight, it's so easy, they're so insulated. Here's what the CEO of ISDA says. They were, in 2021, for the first time, tons of firms were unable to achieve compliance with all their trading partners in time and had to focus their trading on fewer counterparties. It's by no means certain that phase 6 will run as smoothly because the challenges faced during phase 5 will be exponentially greater this time around. All right, there's 775 people that are coming into scope, and they have, those 775 people have relationships with up to 5,400. Information I feel like it's been getting shared. I'm glad that people are starting to pick it up. But adding complication to the next phase is that pension funds and investors often have their derivative portfolios managed by different asset managers through managed accounts, meaning preparations are relying on each entity calculating its swap exposures across its all separately managed accounts and disclosing it to asset managers. So you're going to, if you were, let's say, a pension fund and you had 100 different portfolio managers inside your pension fund, you have to go get the derivative exposure from every single one. And for him saying, oh, it's so easy, they're probably already done. Well, there's been people that they're phasing in still now, right? Like, that are going to be not the big guys, not little shit funds either. These are going to be people that have, under $50 billion, right? But just because they have under $50 billion in actual exposure doesn't really mean dick if they've been running amok and not having to post collateral up until this point, right? So it's a big deal. It's easy for them to have those positions when they're not posting the collateral. But if you're a fund that has under $50 billion and all of a sudden you're having to post 50 million for each agreement that you have as initial margin, that is a huge deal for those funds. And again, when he says we're naive, but I think it's pretty naive to think that these smaller funds don't have any sort of short positions in any of our stocks or are playing in any of the markets that we're affected in, right? So that's number one. And we'll just kind of keep cruising.
That's naive. If they can dodge bullets, they can dodge wrenches, they can dodge this.
Again, I'll reference to Bill Hwang and what happened to Archegos when he came into scope. So full of shit on that.
It's not a big deal. All right. And if you think I'm lying, I called ISDA today. I called this office, option 4. That's all you have to do. Type this number in at option 4. You'll speak to a representative, and they'll tell you everything that I just told you.
I tried to do this because I was just curious to see if I would even be able to get somebody that knew what the hell was going on the press side of this. I spent 45 minutes on the phone, and I was like, screw this. I'm not even going to deal with this. But what's interesting, he says, well, I'll let you finish what he says the press, secretary or released chick said.
What it means. And I even asked them blatantly, hey, what does this mean for a company that's over leveraged? Probably not much. How big is the fund? Oh, a couple $100 billion. Oh, nothing. It's nothing. That's their.
First of all, it's so weird that he would say a fund over 100 billion because it's almost irrelevant. This phase 6 is not scoping in people that have over $100 billion. Okay. That was in phase 1, September 2019. All right. And if there's some truth to that, some of these funds will be okay with, those type of requirements because they are super, super large banks. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about people that have under 50 billion and have over 8 billion, right? So that's a huge canyon of a difference. So him saying that is completely irrelevant because those people have already been in scope. Those are people that are going to be fine. We've been saying this from day one. We're looking at this like a domino effect where these smaller funds are going to get taken out. And again, the numbers that he's talking about, so he says 100 billion. Well, that's like completely a joke. Anybody that has under 50 billion and over 8 billion is going to be into this, which is why it says it's the largest amount of members coming in that are going to be in scope, right? More than ever. So that tells us that more of these funds, the majority of these ISDA funds, okay, are fitting into that range between 50 billion and 8 billion. So again, doesn't know what he's talking about.
Public affairs people telling me this. If their public affairs officers are telling me that it's not a big deal, then it's not a big deal.
Yeah, but we can look at every single roundtable, all the ISDA videos that I put together where it's the learning, again, roundtables with the CEOs of these major banks, the people that are doing the regulation at ISDA and X, Y, and Z, right? The who's who are saying that it's a major deal. They're fearful that people are not going to take it seriously. If they wait, 4 months before they come in scope, they're going to be have a major problem, risk of being hit with a DNT, a do not trade. There's a lot of significant things that can happen, and it's not that easy. Look at the steps of the implementation. Again, they have to test all this with every single counterparty, which is why they had years and years to complete this, and it's still not done. To say, oh, they've had a year to deal with this, is going to be fine. No, you don't know what you're talking about. And I just needed you guys to understand that there's not a whole lot of what he said that's factual at all. I mean, the fact sheets that he brought up earlier in the video talking about what ISDA is, yes. What he's talked about on phase 6, I mean, I don't know how you could be further off from the truth. Even if you look here, again, this is a problem with what happened with Archegos. The staff will not recommend enforcement action if the commission is a non-bank SBSD for purposes of Exchange Act Rule 18A3 does not collect initial margin from a phase 6 counterparty. So if they didn't collect it, there's no problem. They didn't post it. It's no problem. They're exempt, right? That ends the same day that phase 6 goes live, right? Lobbying from ISDA and Securities Industry and Financial Markets Association had delayed this adoption until September 1st, 2022 in order to align with Phase 6 adoption from other regulators. And again, he got a green light. That all ends. There's no more green lights. People that felt they're not meeting these requirements, they're done. So I just wanted to kind of address a few of those things. I think the biggest nail in the coffin is he's talking about funds with $100 billion when the majority of ISDA funds that are going to fall into scope here, again, which is the largest ever, have between 50 billion and over 8 billion. How many of these funds do you think are doing similar things to Archegos? Because Archegos, wasn't like a crazy big fund either, but they definitely caused some damage. So, Al, I hope that you take some time and maybe look at some more information. I would really encourage you to call back, post your phone conversation with them. Let us hear the conversation so we could hear her say that it's a nothing burger and it's a no big deal. But to be honest, you didn't even ask the right questions, if you're being truthful. So I'll leave it at that. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Love you long time. Peace.